What is going on, Pretender here, back with another Honkai Star Rail guide, and today I'm here with the full 2025 updated guide for Welt. In this video, I'm going to be taking you over his kit and Eidolons, then taking you over his best Lightcones, followed by that will be his best Relics and Ornaments, and also the stat recommendations for the main stats and substats on his Relics. Yep, that's all I want to say before I get to the video. If you guys found this video helpful in any way, shape, or form, dropping a like would be greatly appreciated. Be sure to subscribe and turn on the bell icon for future videos like this, along with all other types of Star Rail content. Check the description for my second channel and also to join the Discord, and let's get straight into the video. So Welt is an imaginary character following the path of nihility. His basic attack deals imaginary damage equal to 100% of Welt's attack to a single enemy. His skill deals imaginary damage equal to 72% of Welt's attack to a single enemy, and further deals damage extra 2 times, with each time dealing imaginary damage equal to 72% of Welt's attack to a random enemy. On hit, there's a 75% base chance to reduce the enemy's speed by 10% for 2 turns. His ultimate deals imaginary damage equal to 150% of Welt's attack to all enemies, with 100% base chance for enemies hit by this ability to be imprisoned for 1 turn. Imprisoned enemies have their actions delayed by 40% and speed reduced by 10%. His talent: when hitting an enemy that is already slowed, Welt deals imaginary additional damage equal to 60% of his attack to the enemy. His technique: after using Welt's technique, creates a special dimension that lasts for 15 seconds. Enemies in the special dimension have their movement speed reduced by 50%. After entering battle with enemies in the special dimension, there is a 100% base chance to imprison the enemies for 1 turn. Imprisoned enemies have their action delayed by 20% and speed reduced by 10%. Only one dimension effect created by allies can be existing at the same time. For his bonus traces, his A2: when using ultimate, there's a 100% base chance to increase the damage taken by targets by 12% for 2 turns. His A4: using ultimate additionally regenerates 10 energy, and his A6 deals 20% more damage to enemies afflicted with weakness break. Taking a look at his Eidolons, his E1: after using ultimate, Welt gets enhanced. Then, the next 2 times he does a basic attack or skill, deals 1 extra instance of additional damage to the enemy target. The additional damage dealt by the basic attack is equal to 50% of the basic attack damage multiplier. The additional damage dealt by the skill is equal to 80% of the skill damage multiplier. His E2: when his talent is triggered, Welt regenerates 3 energy. His E4: when using skill, increases the base chance of reducing the attacked enemy target speed by 35%. And his E6: when using skill, deals damage for 1 extra time to a random enemy. Taking a look at the best Lightcone options for Welt. Actually, for a DPS option, a fantastic one is going to be Acheron's signature Lightcone, which provides a 36% increase to crit damage, and when the wearer hits an enemy target, inflicts Mirage Fizzle on the enemy lasting for 1 turn. Each time the wearer attacks, this effect can only trigger 1 time on each target. The wearer deals 24% increased damage to targets afflicted with Mirage Fizzle, and the damage dealt by the ultimate additionally increases by 24%. So starting it off, a 36% increase to crit damage is already really good on its own, especially since it's hard to come by this stat when it is the Hody characters. And then the last parts is really easy to do, as his skill is balanced and his ultimate is full AoE. It's really easy to inflict Mirage Fizzle on everyone that you want to actually inflict it on. And to those enemies, you'll be doing 24% more damage, so when you spam the skill, you'll be doing more damage to them, and with the ultimate, which also does a pretty good amount of damage, will do even more damage. So overall, the damage output that Welt himself will do is greatly increased with this Lightcone, being the best option for his own DPS. A good option for a more supportive but still does help with his requirements is Silverwolf's signature Lightcone, which provides a 24% increase to effect hit rate, and when the wearer deals damage to an enemy that has currently 3 or more debuffs, increases the wearer's crit rate by 12%. After the wearer uses their basic attack, skill, or ultimate, there's a 100% base chance to implant Aether Code on a random target that does not already have it. After the wearer uses their basic attack, skill, or ultimate, there's a 100% base chance to implant Aether Code on a random hit enemy that does not yet have it. Targets with Aether Code receive 12% increased damage for 1 turn. You will need to run other debuffers if you do want to have the full effect of this Lightcone, but even if you don't have the crit rate going out, it's still good because it does provide 24% effect hit rate, which is going to help his own requirement. And on top of that, when you do implant Aether Code, the teammates you do have can deal more damage to enemies that do end up having Aether Code. So it's a good option for a debuffer, Welt, making this another good option you can use. Another option is his own Lightcone you can get from the standard banner, which increases the wearer's damage to debuff enemies by 24%. When the wearer uses a skill, the effect hit rate for this attack increases by 18% and attack increases by 24%. Pretty much just increases his overall damage by a little bit. The 24% is going to be nice, and further increases the damage of his skill and also the effect hit rate of it, so you can inflict the debuff with the skill even more. So it does also help you with the effect hit rate requirements, but it would only be for the skill though, so you'd probably still want to hit the minimum threshold you do want to get the debuffs to actually proc successfully. But it's still a nice overall bonus you can get. And then again, it further increases the damage of the skill. So this is another fine option you can use. Another great option is the Pearls Lightcone, which when the wearer hits an enemy and if the hit enemy is not already ensnared, you have a 60% base chance to ensnare the hit enemy, and ensnared enemies' defense decreases by 12% for 1 turn. And an S5 that does become 100% base chance with a 16% defense. decrease. So this is great for his damage that he can do to those enemies, and is also great for your team since the defense decrease in this game is really good. So lowering defense is going to make your entire team and your main DPS especially do more damage to the enemies that are ensnared, and Welt's own damage will also increase against them because their defense is ignored. Overall, making this a great option for a debuffer Welt, which also will increase his own damage as it does make him do more damage to the decreased enemies as well. If you have another debuffer on the team, you can use Goodnight and Sleep Well for his own damage, because for every debuff the target enemy has, the damage done by the wearer increases by 12%, stacking up to 3 times, and also applies a dot. And at S5, it becomes 24%, stacking up to 3 times. So he cannot inflict 3 debuffs, so you will need someone else to inflict a debuff as well. But if you are able to get the 3 debuffs on enemy and then use this Lightcone on Welt, his own damage is going to increase by a lot, because at S5 it gives you up to a 72% increase to damage dealt, which is an extremely high amount. So this is going to be one of the best options you can use if you are able to have the 3 debuffs on the enemy. But once again, it will be for his personal damage. He's not really helping with anything with this, so no defense shred, no increased damage to enemies. This is also going to be for his personal damage. Another good option for his personal damage is Boundless Choreo, which increases the wearer's crit rate by 8%, and the wearer deals 24% more crit damage to enemies that are currently slowed or have reduced defense. And at S5, it becomes 16% with a 48% crit damage dealt. You do not need a character that can lower defense, since Welt is able to lower speed in his base kit, so he's able to make use of this Lightcone in general. So again, as I mentioned, just like with Acheron's Lightcone, it's rare to come by crit rate and crit damage when it comes to Nihility Lightcones. So this is fantastic because now you're giving him 16% crit rate and also doing a bunch of more crit damage to enemies that are currently slowed, which once again he's able to do in his base kit, so you're able to have this up pretty often, making it a fantastic option for his own personal damage. Taking a look at the best relic options for Welt, overall the best one for his own damage is going to be the Pioneer set or the debuff set, which increases damage dealt to enemies with debuffs by 12%, and the 4-piece increases crit rate by 4%. The wearer deals 8%/12% increased damage to enemies with at least 2/3 debuffs. After a wearer inflicts a debuff to enemy targets, the aforementioned effects increase by 100% for 1 turn. You will also need to run another debuffer to make use of this full set, but he is able to inflict a debuff in his base kit, and potentially depending on the Lightcone you are using, which can need even less debuffs to get the full effect. But if you are running another debuffer or are able to just make use of the full set, this is going to be the best one you can use for his own damage. And again, he can get the aforementioned effects increase as he's able to inflict a debuff in the space kit, and that will make it the best relic set you can use for his own personal damage, making this the best option for once again his personal damage. Another great option is the 4-piece of the Imaginary set, which is 2-piece increases imaginary damage by 10%, and the 4-piece when attacking debuff enemies, the wearer's crit rate increases by 10%, and the crit damage increases by 20% against imprisoned enemies. So great 2-piece, the imaginary damage he does overall, which is all his attacks will be increased, and you'll practically always be attacking debuffed enemies with Welt on the team, so an extra 10% crit rate is really nice. And the last part of it is really easy with him since you don't need to actually break them to proc imprisonment, which you still can do, it's going to proc it, but his ultimate is actually able to apply imprisonment compared to other characters that are imaginary. Since this is kind of the issue with it, is you would always have to break it with other imaginary characters, but since Welt can inflict it with his ultimate, you don't actually need it to only break them, so it's more consistent. So this is another fantastic option you can use. Another option that's pretty good is actually the 4-piece of the Scholar set, which increases crit rate by 8% for the 2-piece, and the 4-piece increases damage dealt by skill and ultimate by 20%. After using ultimate, additionally increases the damage dealt by the next skill by 25%. So often you are spamming skill, so the extra 20% you get at the base 4-piece is going to be really nice, and you also get more damage from the ultimate, and when you do use the ultimate, the next time you do use the skill will do even more damage. So it's really nice since with Welt you practically always spam skill, and you use your ultimate whenever you can, timing it right for the imprisonment. So it's going to be a really nice increase to damage overall for his main sources of damage, and on top of that, 2-piece gives you crit rate, so that's going to help with some thresholds you do want to hit to have more consistent crits, or also make up for a lack of crit rate you may have on your rolls because you know you got unlucky. So overall, Scholar set is another fantastic option you can use. Past that, it is practically just combining 2-pieces and 2-pieces. So you can do 2-piece of the debuff set for the increased damage to debuffed enemies, and then 2-piece of the imaginary set for an extra imaginary damage increase. Or you can do 2-piece of one of those and do 2-piece Scholar for the extra crit rate. And you could also do 2-piece of one of the ones mentioned to do 2-piece of one of the attack percent increasing sets. So 2-piece Wind Soaring set, 2-piece of the Dot set, or 2-piece of Musketeer, since they all have the same 2-piece. But overall, definitely would recommend getting 4-piece of one of the sets mentioned. The Pioneer set being the best one if you're able to get it up fully. Imaginary set isn't too far behind though, so it's still a fantastic one. So if you have better rolls, you can use this if you don't want to farm the debuff set. And if you happen to have good Scholar pieces, that's also a fantastic option. And if you're still farming for those, or you just want to give them a 2-piece because you might be lazy or you just don't want to farm for them too much, then you could also opt to just do 2-piece. 2-pieces is one of the ones mentioned. For Planar Ornaments, a great one is actually going to be the Glamoth set, even at 135 speed, because 160 speed on Welt is more on the unrealistic side. But Glamoth gives you a 12% attack increase, and when you do have 135 135 speed or higher or 160 speed or higher, you get a 12%/18% increase to damage. So you can practically ignore the extra 18% because 160 with Welt, once again, is not really what you do. You usually get him to about 130-ish. You hit breakpoint 134, you just get the extra speed, get the 135, now you get this buff, and now you get an extra 12% increase to damage, which also gives you the 12% attack that you get at base. So at 135 speed, it is one of the best, if not the best option you can use, making it a fantastic option. Another option you can use if you are using another Nihility on the team is going to be the Set, which provides a 12% increase in attack, and when you enter battle, if you have someone that follows the same path as the wearer, you get a 12% increase in crit rate. Well, nowadays is often mainly used with someone like Acheron, so this is going to be an easy crit rate increase. But even with a non-Acheron team, if you do have someone else on the team that is Nihility, you can use Set because the 12% crit rate is going to be nice for your ratio, because you will be needing less rolls, or maybe you don't have that much crit rate, or maybe you already have a good amount of crit rate and now you can have even more, you're getting up to maybe even the 80s or 90s. So this is definitely going to help with that, and the extra 12% attack is nice, making Ismo another great option. Another good option is the Pan Cosmic set, which gives you a 10% increase to effect hit rate, and you gain an attack increase that is equal to 25% of current effect hit rate, and the maximum amount is 25%. So you need 100% effect hit rate to get the full effect of this ornament, but that's a bit overkill. Even if you don't hit to the full part, you're still going to be able to get a good amount of an attack increase, and since Welt doesn't need up to 100% effect hit rate, the amount you do need on him still provides him a good amount of a buff. So overall, Pan Cosmic can be a good damage increase since it is a nice attacking increase. On top of that, it also does provide 10% effect hit rate on its own, so overall, a good option you can use. Another option you can use is Space Relaxation, which gives a 12% attack increase, and when you have 120 speed or higher, you get an additional 12% attack increase, overall giving you 24% of an attack increase, which is nice, but all the other options I mentioned are better, and it's really easy to get this Relic set's requirements since usually you always have them at least breakpoints, so overall, a good option you can use if you are farming for the other ones, and you just happen to have good Space Relaxations laying around. Those are the ones you want to do for his actual damage output, but if you are running him more of a debuffer slash support, you actually can opt to do one of the other sets, such as one of the supportive ones like Broken Keel, Ageless, Lushaka. Lushaka is especially fantastic because you do provide 12% attack for the first character on the team lineup, so it's nice, and on top of that, Will also gains a energy regeneration rate increase, so that's going to be nice for his energy, so he's getting the benefit of the energy, and on top of that, he's going to be buffing the character that's first on the team lineup, so your main DPS is going to deal even more damage. So if you want your Well to do less damage but more of a support, Lushaka is a great option. As I mentioned, Broken Keel can also be an option as it does provide 10% effect res, and once you have 30% or higher effect res, you give everyone 10% crit damage, which includes him, so it will also buff his damage by a little bit as well. So Broken Keel is another great option for a supportive slash debuffer Welt, and Aegis also does fall under that category too because it gives him max HP, which is good for survivability but definitely wasted since more damage could be nice. And once you have 120 speed or higher, you give everyone 8% attack, which he also benefits from, so he can also get the attack percent increase, which will increase his damage by a little bit as well, while also giving everyone else it, so it's going to increase their damage as well. So Aegis is another option you can use as a supporter slash debuff Welt. For the main stats on the relics, for the body, this actually does depend. For the best damage output, and if you're able to get enough effect hit rate from the rolls, then you can opt to do crit rate or crit damage corresponding to which one you need more. But if you don't want to actually worry about rolling effect hit rate on your relics, you can opt to just run the effect hit rate body, because then you won't really need a single effect hit rate roll, since Welt will want around 50% effect hit rate. Overall, you'd want even higher than that, so the effect hit rate body is nice, but you don't want to neglect your other stats such as speed, you don't want to neglect attack percent, crit rate, crit damage. You still want him to do damage, so that's why it's important not to fully focus on effect hit rate to apply his debuffs. But if you really have just really good crit rate, crit damage, speed, attack percent pieces, you can opt to just do an effect hit rate body so you don't have to worry about the rolls. For the feet, you want speed. For the orb, you want magic damage. And for the link rope, you can do attack percent if you want the best damage output, or you can do energy regeneration rate if you want a more supportive slash debuffer, so you can get the better ults, which will overall help you use it even more, which is going to apply even more imprisonment and help your team get attack less. For the substats, if you aren't doing an effect hit rate body, you definitely want to focus on getting effect hit rate to around 40 to 50%. 40 is on the lower side, around 50 is ideal. You also want to focus on getting speed to the breakpoint, so 134 or 135 if you're using Glamoth. And then past that is your main crit rate, crit damage, attack percent rolls, since once again you don't want to neglect that even if you're running a debuffer slash support Welt. So once again, effect hit rate, get it around the minimum threshold of around 50%, and also speed, get that to breakpoint, or once again 135 for Glamoth. Past that will be your just crit rate, crit damage, attack percent rolls, so you can do more damage. And if you're running Broken Keel, you obviously want to get the 30% effect res. If that is the full Welt build guide. Once again, if you guys found the video helpful, dropping a like would be greatly appreciated. If you haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe and turn on the bell icon for future videos like this, along with all other types of Sorrow content. Yeah, once again, hope you found the video helpful. Peace out.